Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch. I'm Phil Carute, and I'm joined by my fearless co-host, Brock. Tamarino, the Phil Switch podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. If your buddies aren't using Sal's, they're not your buddies. Brock, we have a very special guest in studio again today, brought to us by none other than Brock and the work of the producer, of course. Brock, would you like to give a little background on our guest and introduce him?
Yeah, that'd be great, Phil. So our guest in studio today, I've been watching this guy since I was a kid, for as long as I can remember. I don't want to age him here, but I've been watching him for a long time. Professional wrestling when I watched him, and then I saw him in at least one movie, probably one of my favorite movies ever. And, went on to do other things. I don't want to kind of give it away here, but went on to do other things. Still very much in the spotlight, the limelight, whatever you want to call it. Without further ado, Jesse the Body Ventura, thank you for coming to the Phil Switch studio. So excited to have you here. Jesse the Body Ventura.
You guys mind if I start with the story here?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Start with the story.
All right. So when I was governor of Minnesota, I went to this party, right? And I'd known the host for such a long time. We had talked about politics. We had talked about taxes. And I met this fellow during one of our campaign rallies. Anyway, I go to the gentleman's house, right? And he kind of reminded me he had a very similar personality to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I co-starred with in Predator. Now, sorry, Phil, you look like you were going to say something.
Predator, I really like that movie. One of my favorite movies, just like Brock. We've talked about that movie a ton, Brock and I. I never understood what they did with your character. You had probably the most powerful gun in that movie. And you get taken out, and I don't even think you hit the Predator. You got like shot in the chest, and then the buddy comes up, and I think he hits the Predator like once on the leg.
Yeah, we had talked about that quite a bit. I said, I want the minigun. I think it looks cool. And it just went with the body. At that time, obviously, people still knew me as Jesse the Body Ventura. I've kind of dropped the body. And now since I've had more of a professional career, especially once I became governor of Minnesota, I dropped the body and now I'm just Jesse Ventura. But it's not one of those sayings where if people say, hey, it's Jesse the Body Ventura, that I get offended or I try to make some kind of scene. I just go with it because they're fans. They pay their taxes. Most of the people I run into, especially stateside, are patriots, which I always appreciate. I myself am a patriot. But I'm sorry, anyway, the party, yes, but I agree. I never understood why with the minigun, which was the most powerful weapon of the whole platoon that we had, the whole group, the whole team, why they took the guy out with the minigun. But we had very intense discussions about that scene, and I said, couldn't I have hit him at least once? And they said, well, that's not how we have it written. And anyway, I said that would never have happened when I was on the SEAL teams, of course. And so I go to this home, right? And right when I get there, the host, very, very nice, very cordial, very welcoming. He's having everyone come into the house. And right when I get there, I'm walking up the steps and he's wearing, I kid you not, an Armani suit. And he has a tortilla sombrero. Now, do you guys know what a tortilla sombrero is?
Is that like are you talking about like where they wear the big sombrero and it's got like guacamole and stuff in it?
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Brock. This tortilla sombrero, remember, he's wearing an Armani suit, tortilla sombrero, guacamole on one half of the hat. I believe it's his right side of the hat. On the left side, full of salsa. Now, you guys might not know this about me. Huge salsa fan, huge guacamole fan. So right when you get to the house, right, I was one of the first guests. He says, take a bit of the tortilla sombrero and have some salsa or guacamole. Now, I asked him, I said, being the governor of Minnesota, do I get to dip both the guacamole and the salsa? And I kid you not, he said, for the body, anything. And we laughed and joked probably the entire evening as I'm eating my body weight in guacamole and salsa.
So Jesse, do you like the salsa super hot? Do you like it mild? Just kind of curious what kind of salsa guy you are.
I don't have a preference. I met so many challenges over my career in the SEAL teams and then as the governor of Minnesota that I just if the salsa's mild, I'm fine. If it's hot, I'm fine. But if you're asking for my preference, which it sounds like you are, Brock, I would have to say that for the most part, I'm more of a medium guy. So I don't like it too hot, and I don't like where I'm just eating tomatoes and onions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of more of a, I'm probably more of a medium guy too, just a little bit of spice. Yeah, I'm sorry, but anyway, so excellent party. Or did anything else happen in that at that party? Sorry, you were just kind of at the beginning of it.
No, that's really it. I was just really surprised with his wardrobe. And I couldn't believe that I was sitting here eating chips and salsa and guacamole as the governor of Minnesota.
So Jesse, do you have there's been, if you don't mind me asking, do you have any like other movies that you plan to be in? Or has there been any talk? Phil and I have talked about it a lot, and we thought it would always be kind of cool. I know they had Prey, which was kind of like a prequel to the Predator. But is there any chance that maybe they're going to have some backstory showing what you guys in Arnold's group did before you guys faced down the Predator?
There's been no talk of that. I had a lot of discussions with the production team and Arnold, actually. We talked about that quite extensively about, hey, what if we go back in time and we feature, my big push was, what if we feature the whole team, but how I really came into my own with this minigun? Because it's not every time you see somebody just walking around a jungle with a minigun. And the producer was very, very open to the idea, but unfortunately we didn't have backing from the studio. They said they didn't quite see the concept. And it was a little bit abstract of a concept, I will say. But do you guys want to hear kind of what I was thinking about it?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because Brock and I have talked about this a lot. We saw Prey. That was really awesome for like a prequel to the Predator. But it would have been cool to maybe see, because you guys were so tough, like such a tough group, and nobody really knew where you guys came from. That's exactly what I was trying to say. You become so involved with these characters, right? Where they're going through the jungle, they're there for a separate mission, and before you know it, they're fighting this extremely brutal, barbaric alien life form who has weapons that are beyond their conception, beyond what they can even understand, comprehension. Or not conception, comprehension, I apologize. And you have this group of guys. You have Arnold who's leading it. You have Carl Withers, who isn't really part of our group in the movie. He kind of comes on and hires us. And Arnold is talking about how that's going to happen and how that's going to play out. And I was telling the guys, listen, we have a great opportunity here. Okay, I can help influence where we might have come from with, from my experience with the SEALs. And then you have Arnold, who is such a megastar, such a blockbuster, action-packed megastar. And we need to flesh out where this team came from. Now, of course,
I wanted to push myself into a bigger role in that part because so many people are unaware of where my character came from. All they realize is I have this hat that's got the bill rolled up on the side and I carry a minigun. And they know that I'm Jesse the Body Ventura. At that time, now I'm just Jesse Ventura, former governor of Minnesota. But I wanted to really expand that character. And I thought, why don't we go back in time to when my character was a child? Not at the birth, not at, when my parents first met, but, maybe somewhere around middle school. And how I really formed, my whole persona, this character's persona, to really allow me to expand. And then, of course, I meet up with Arnold, and I'm supposed to be first in command, right? But Arnold's character ends up being first in command because I step down, because they say to me, well, you can be first in command, but you can't have the minigun and be first in command, which makes total sense to me. And so I said, well, that's fine. I can step back. I'm able to do that. And Arnold can go ahead and go to the front. And that's the whole progression of this story until obviously we end up right before we're going on this mission for the Predator. And then obviously you would, pull the sequel or the prequel out of your DVD, Blu-ray, VHS player. I don't think there's a lot of guys that use the VHS player anymore. It's more Blu-ray, or maybe even people are, have you guys heard of the concept of streaming? Because I think if we went back and made that today, with the technology we have in the production, Arnold could really get behind that. And we could stream this, maybe even make it a series, maybe like a 5, season series.
A series would be kind of cool, but I wonder if maybe just like a one-off movie, you could really pack some stuff in there.
Yeah, I was thinking about just a movie, and I've kind of fiddle-faddled with the idea of a series, but I'm not sure that 5 seasons would capture it. So maybe just hone it down to like a 2.5-hour movie and just hit the highlights. But with the concept that I'm having, what do you guys think about that type of cinematic feature?
I think it could be interesting. And that idea where you're like the lead guy and Arnold's the second guy, but then they promise you the minigun. And so you're going to be second command. But is that, do they rank people by the type of weapon they have?
Well, it's not very unlike, my concept was not very unlike ninjas, right? Where maybe the lead ninja has just a regular katana. So he just has a katana. But the guy second in charge has 2 katanas and maybe a handful of ninja throwing stars. So that's kind of who I was. I went from being the guy with just a katana to being the guy with the katana, or 2 katanas and a handful of ninja throwing stars. And then Steve Arnold is just going to be the ninja with the katana. But of course, we're not doing ninja. I'm just giving an example of that. I had to break this stuff down a lot for people to understand my concepts and where I was going when I was governor of Minnesota.
Yeah, so if you have 2 katanas and ninja stars, and it would make sense that, Arnold's just going to have the 1 katana.
Exactly.
Well, Jesse, I tell you what, we're coming to the end of our time. Is there anything else you would like to say, or anything else you would like to add on to the end here?
Phil, I really can't think of anything right now. I would love to come back to the studio sometime and do a more in-depth evaluation of this possible prequel. And also, I wouldn't mind talking more about my wrestling career at some point and how that led into everything else. Thinking about it, maybe I take this kid in this prequel, right, for Predator, and what I do is he starts out as a professional wrestler, the youngest professional wrestler known to mankind. And then there's a slow progression until he gets this minigun, meets with Arnold, right? And then they go on to become this great elite team.
Yeah, so you're kind of mixing your worlds with the characters' worlds that you played, right?
Exactly. We'll have to do that sometime soon. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, Jesse. Great having you in studio. We'll try to have you back on. Yeah, let's wrap it up here. So, as always, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out my other podcast, The First and 15th, which I co-host with Cap over at Kaplowitz.xyz, Kaplowitz Media. If you guys would like to reach out to us, any guest you have in mind you would like us to try to reach out to, let us know that. You can do that through email. You can do that through thefillswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thefillswitch@gmail.com. We wish you all a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here at The Fill Switch.